Yo, what's up you guys? This is X, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you guys about why I love Blue Lock. Now, I'm not a soccer player. I haven't played since 8th grade, and I wasn't even a striker. But this anime is truly special to me. I related to it so much when I first watched it. From seeing the first opening, I just knew that I had to watch this anime, and I had a feeling that I would just really vibe with it based off the opening intro, because Blue Lock is about having that dog in you, having that fight, having that confidence to just never back down and always keep improving and to take the shot. It's almost similar to Cobra Kai in the sense of the strike first, strike hard, no mercy mentality. It's a lot like being an egoist. And as far as I can remember, I've watched many sports anime, and they've always been about teamwork. And even in something like Kuroko's, it's the opposite. It's about not being an egoist and, playing for the team, all that. Because we see how those egos really kind of destroyed the sport of basketball and how dysfunctional those teams are with the generation of miracle players, despite there being so much talent. But Blue Lock, really, to me, it's actually similar to a lot of those sports anime with, Ippo and Hanamichi. It's just that we start off with Isagi being a bit more developed as a player. He's already in the playoffs for his high school. Yet Isagi is lacking confidence. He's not convicted, and we see that in his moment where he could have shot the shot, but he chose to pass the teammate. And then we see him pass instead of taking the shot. So he's a bit more passive, he's not aggressive. And if there's one thing that is true in sports, is you have to be aggressive. And we see Isagi's frustration about this in that opening episode, in that scene on the bike where he's screaming and just crying. And Isagi really, he takes it on the chin, man. I think it could have been a lot easier to just say, hey, soccer just isn't for me, but he moves forward from this moment and he learns from his mistake of just letting this happen. And we really see this amazing character development to where from episode 1 he was very uncertain. It seemed like he was just playing soccer to play it, even though he liked soccer, to becoming this player that was determined and dedicated to just be hungry and get better and bring in this mentality. And I say to have that dog in you. What I mean by that is to bet on yourself and have that confidence of like, I'm going to score and I'm the best. And there's a reason why people who are great at things and great at sports are narcissistic. It's because you have to be in order to be at that level. So I would say Blue Lock's mention of being an egoist is actually extremely accurate. Now, I can't speak too much to soccer and being a striker and being an egoist, but I'm sure it's actually translates very well to the real world. As for basketball, I mean, of course you have to have a huge ego in basketball, especially if you're a scorer. I mean, I played with people who I've had to yell at because they weren't passing the ball enough, or I've gotten yelled at for taking shots that were considered poor shots and there was a better option. But at the end of the day, man, that's what it's all about. I'd rather have someone who's confident and willing to take their shots much more so than someone who's just kind of playing an arbitrary role, if you know what I mean. If my point guard can give me 30 points, I'm choosing that guy over the guy who's just kind of like a pass first point guard all fucking day. And we see kind of this with Isagi in a sense, because he goes from being kind of just this, he doesn't really have any personality out there. I think sports is a way to express your personality, and Isagi develops that kind of factor in trash talking. We see him trash talk Baro. We see him developing his game sense. He's really like the Rock Lee of the story because he's pretty average height. He doesn't have any special talents, and he's surrounded by people who are extremely talented, gifted, or just, different in a sense, like the major people like Rin, Sai, etc. So we really see Isagi kind of tap into his own potential and of breaking down the game analytically and coming up with strategies. And that's something that I've always been a fan of when it comes to like fighting. You take like Sasuke versus Deidara, that's like a great example. Even Itachi versus Sasuke, of super technical chess battles that are in fights. And that's essentially what Isagi's doing when playing soccer. He's breaking it down into chess. Now, is this accurate? I would say no, because when in real life, when you're playing sports, it's going to be mainly just off instinct, especially when you're in a game. You're not going to be thinking that much or have time. There's not going to be puzzle pieces crashing around. But for somebody who doesn't play soccer, doesn't follow it, doesn't understand the sport to its intricacies, of course I get it. It's pretty simple to get, but to have that kind of breakdown of, okay, he's going to be here with two men, so I'm going to show up to the blind spot. Then I'm going to fake the blind spot and turn angle back around here and get this opening, because then Bachira can cross it to me. By the way, Bachira is an awesome character. That sort of strategy involvement and breaking down of the plays is something I super appreciate about Blue Lock. And it made a sport like soccer that I really don't have the most interest in watching, but I enjoyed playing it, extremely fun to watch. And this anime, it motivated me to really adopt that egoist mentality. And you can adopt that mentality in your own life, in terms of work, in terms of, hey man, I gotta get better at my career. I gotta really refine my resume. I mean, seriously though, it might sound funny, but like, or even like in video games, like in Valorant or Pokemon, I'm like, let me take this shot. Like, just be egotistical and just do shit for the pure like love of the game, man. Like, pull up on them like Madara, like pulling up on all the freaking Kage and just showing up. And bro, that's how you gotta live your life, because just sitting in a corner passing to someone else, I mean, you gotta focus on yourself, man. That's who you got at the end of the day. And Blue Lock's great at just conveying that message of, you gotta go all in, bro. You gotta train, you gotta want this, you gotta have the hunger, you gotta fucking celebrate, you gotta fucking scream, dog, when you score that goal. And it is just amazing. Another part about Blue Lock that I love is it explores psychology of multiple characters. And I've always been someone who is really into that kind of character writing, especially when it comes to sports. That's why Kuroko's has always been my favorite, because it goes really deep with the character psychology. Now, Blue Lock also goes extremely deep with characters like Nagi Seshiro, who's like this lazy genius. And that's something that Kaneshiro actually explored in Jagan quite a bit, and with actually a villain, but now he's doing it with the I would say the other main character in the story, kind of, because he did get that movie. He's almost kind of like Yuta in a way, and Isagi is Itadori, but I digress. With Nagi, it's really interesting to me because, unlike Isagi, he is he's so gifted and talented, and he's able to score at will, and he's got that innate talent and ability, but he's pretty much the same as Isagi in terms of he didn't have that mindset before of kind of like, how do I even describe it? It's like a will to win. It's a fighting spirit. And it's kind of this fighting spirit that is in all shonen anime. It's just in Blue Lock, it's totally just pushed to the maximum. And I think the reason why I relate to it so well is because I was that guy in the gym for 8 hours a day working on my game, or I was trying to drop 30 points on you and embarrass you and break your ankles and absolutely just cook you, make you fall over. That's the type of player that I was. I was still a good team player, like setting screens, good passes, supporting teammates, good at all those things. But at my core, let me hit that step back on you, let me cross you up. So it's so easy for people to relate to that haven't even played soccer before. If you've honed your craft to a point where you just know how good you are, and you're just, it's just simple, like you've got that dog in you. Now, the other great thing is that we get to see this cliche of teamwork getting flipped and saying, hey, what happens when teamwork fails? And this formula of teamwork repeatedly fails and nothing's working. And we see in Blue Lock, they go the extreme, like crazy extreme direction of, hey, let's make these kids think that they got to be egotistical, they got to take the shot on their own. And I don't think this would work in real life. There's no way, because in sports you really have to have that team chemistry, even in Valorant teams, right? One wrong person on the team, your team's going to be complete ass. But I think it's so interesting to explore this idea from that kind of standpoint of, okay, what is it like? What's going to happen if we put together all these strikers competing who we tell them you got to score a lot, you got to have massive egos. It's kind of an experiment that we get to witness. Not only that, but we get to watch this play out in probably the most entertaining fashion possible. And that is the Hunger Games style of like elimination. Now, one thing about me is I'm a big fan of the Hunger Game movies, but more so the fact that just that format of competition, elimination, high stakes, it keeps it high stakes at all times. It just makes for such a great show and super entertaining. I hope that Ichigo comes back, by the way. If you're a Blue Lock fan, you know who I'm talking about, but one other thing I want to mention is like Bachira, for example. We get to understand his kind of love for the sport and what soccer means to him as a person. And that was something really special. And you bring in that metaphor of the monster. And to me, what that is kind of like when you're so good at something and you're in that flow state, you almost become like a monster. Like the way that he's dribbling, doing like inhuman things that just don't make any sense. I mean, that's just my interpretation. I'm sure there's like a proper reason. And then you take someone like Baro, for example, a guy who really, you think he's just some kind of brute who's good, but then you look further and you realize, oh wow, this guy has number one, he's got a backstory. And that backstory kind of molded him into the person he is today. And also we get to see what happens when his ego gets crushed and he has to adapt. And then the dynamic switches where Isagi is number one, and he's catching up, and that's, you got humbled, you know. And again, we get to see that humbling take place versus the U20 team. And Blue Lock to me is just really, it's extremely motivating, it's extremely inspiring, and it's a constant reminder to always go through your life with a chip on your shoulder no matter what, and have that competitive fire and edge to you. I think that's something, if I were to say, to translate to real life, that's something that's been lost. I think today in general, people are a little bit too comfortable in staying in their own kind of, oh, I'm a, you know what I mean? Like, people are just a little bit too shut off from that. I think that's, maybe it's just me because I'm an extremely competitive person, but I think allowing that competitive side of yourself to flourish through an outlet like a sport or a game or anything for that matter, it's something that is amazing. It's something that's so great, and Blue Lock is just a perfect example of that. Yeah, so I'm grateful for Blue Lock, and I know its second season didn't get the best animation through and through. That's okay though. I didn't really even mind, because as I said before, I'm so focused on understanding the characters and understanding the different dynamics playing out. Once we got to the 2v2, 3v3, 4v4 thing, that's when I said, damn dude, this is just a 10 out of 10. It's a favorite of mine. Like, yeah, Blue Lock is amazing, bro. Yeah, so I'm grateful for Blue Lock. And yeah, this is X signing out.